Hey guys, Axel Fresh here, out and about, all in a nice blue turquoise. Hello, soon. I'm looking forward to it that you're taking the time.
Ahoy from Schleswig-Holstein, ahoy from the Rhineland. Or moin, as I've learned, because saying moin moin would already be too much conversation.
Is saying moin moin just pointless talk? Axel, we say that too. Sometimes we need to check a few things first, like data among ourselves. We have many topics to manage, so yeah, we regularly check on things, and we're using this opportunity as a reason to do so, because it was just now the memorial service for Charlie Kirk. I watched some of it live. I watched some of it live. Many Germans also wrote in. There was a live chat, I think even on Charlie Kirk's channel, where people were writing in. And I'd be interested to know who else watched it live. Feel free to write it in the comments. Axel.
Maybe you just started assuming everyone knows what we're talking about, but first tell us what this is actually about.
It's Charlie Kirk's memorial.
Yesterday, right?
Exactly, it's about the memorial service.
60,000 participants, and it was a creepy celebration. Yes, so a political activist was celebrated as a martyr here. Donald Trump gave one of the eulogies, of course, in his role as president, the main eulogy. And there were many elements recognizable, yes, that are also quite characteristic of systems that we would have upheld back then.
Yes, I also, there were bands playing. I don't know, I started very early. It was a very long event. No, I don't remember anymore, but it went on for a very, very long time, did I then? Um, at some point, I watched in between while I was doing something at the sprinkler. So I had something running on the side here, like a band was playing, super Christian, really patriotic. That's all well and good. But of course, I only watched the highlights before I watched the whole thing. I often don't really connect with this over the top American stuff. Yeah, so sometimes that's just too much for me. Everything's too big, too grand, too huge.
It really is a kind of over the top, yeah, that here, American stage politics and communication like a festival, yeah, that it always has to be a big show. I always say politics is show business for ugly people. Yeah, in the United States, that's taken to the extreme. But this staging, it was even more bombastic. It was even more dramatic. So it felt like Charlie Kirk had just been canonized by the Pope, right?
Yeah, right now there's an American Pope. An American is the Pope, not an American Pope. It's that an American is the Pope. Um, God's representative on earth. I'm not sure I trust Americans to canonize Charlie Kirk in the future. I don't know, but it needs many steps. I don't think so.
I don't want to accuse the clergy of anything, but I'm saying this staging reminds me of that. Yeah, well, if you take out all the verbal attacks, which we'll get to in a moment, then it all seems very sacred. Then it's as if a martyr is being commemorated here. Yes.
We'll look at that soon. The appearances were very different at Glendale Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Axel just looked that up again. Those are also things that sometimes slip through. Um, two very different inputs. Donald Trump for me, well, I know Axel and I have already ruined our chances of entering the United States of America for many, many weeks and months now. That is that would certainly be the case if our social media were run by artificial intelligence. That we speak out against Trump, that we talk about fascism being set in motion in the United States of America. Our entry into the United States of America would probably already be done for. Axel?
I'm being careful here. Let's go back for a moment. When Donald Trump became president for the first time, I was happy, to be honest. For me, it was like if Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons suddenly became president. And back then, I ignored a lot of those warnings and concerns that came up. Oh, Trump is going to install a new fascism. The United States of America will no longer be the land of free speech. I said, oh, come on, let's tone it down a bit. It won't be that bad. And I also thought it was good that Trump's presidency broke with many conventions, that he brought in some fresh air. Yes, just that people are again. All things that I thought were good. But then, when that staged coup, which fortunately failed, the storming of the Capitol happened. It was clear to me then that's not acceptable. That's absolutely not acceptable. And to be honest, I never would have thought it possible that this man would make such a comeback, something that has never happened before in history. That a man who was under indictment, and it was clear that he wanted to stage a coup there in a cold-blooded way, that he could be president again, and not only wins by a razor-thin majority, but also with the majority of votes from groups that would never have otherwise voted for a Republican. With the popular vote, so not just with the electoral college vote, but with the popular vote, the majority of Americans, then a second man like him. And yes, then there were no more limits. That's when he started doing things, and unfortunately in a way that was totally, totally un-American. But I still would have differentiated. I would have said, sure, Poulter, he's unpleasant, yes, the lobbyist. And anyone who gets far enough up his ass gets some kind of gift from him in politics, in business, wherever. But fascism is a serious accusation and a fundamental factor. And we've always seen that Trump's first presidency was not a path to fascism. That despite his ranting about the press being the enemy of the people, he didn't really restrict press freedom or interfere with it. But that's exactly what's happening now. As we've just learned, and as we've already briefly discussed, one of the most popular and well-known comedians in the United States, Jimmy Kimmel, has lost his position. Yes, his show has been suspended for a certain period because he dared to do it. Yes, in a tone that could definitely be considered inappropriate. He talked about the murder of Charlie Kirk. And yes, it's not like the broadcaster was being overly proactive or anything. Let's just kick him out, but rather it was the American authorities. The allocation of cable channel slots, which American Broadcasting Company, of course part of the Disney Group, depends on. The Federal Communications Commission exerted pressure, prompted by President Trump said there are two options. We can take the hard way, just go a bit tough. We'll take away your broadcasting license. The easy way is you part ways with Jimmy Kimmel. And that's such an un-American dictatorial interference. Yeah, that has nothing to do with freedom of speech anymore. To me, that's clear evidence Donald Trump wants to make the United States of America a fascist state, where freedom of speech only exists if he's the one expressing it, which is especially perverse because this whole movement, similar to the AfD and other right-wing populists and extremists here in Germany, kept claiming that Trump was creating freedom of speech. Cancel culture is over. Everything can be said again. We welcome debate and support true freedom of speech. And now everything that doesn't fit the narrative of Charlie Kirk as the martyr, the kind Christian activist, is being targeted. To criminalize and target, or to go after an entire broadcaster for it, to revoke their cable license. That's crazy.
Insane. Yeah, I mean, it would have been unimaginable for me if someone had told me that, especially coming from the country that basically invented free speech. I'll just put it that way. Historically as well. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that this is possible, that this could happen. Shit, Miller actually shows up here. Shit, what you
want to get rid of the trash after all now? Yeah, no, here something has...
The rhythm shifted with garbage collection. Such crap. Oh, too bad that I broke character here. But our garbage can sources are overflowing. Because recently here... Oh, are you playing...
So you're playing a role, the gentleman then. Yes, yes.
Too private. I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't have imagined it. As I said, it's from the country known for free speech, where we neo-Nazis always said anything was possible. That's how it is, and people just go along with it. There seem to be very few protests, at least from what I can see. Well,
Efforts to restrict the free press aren't new. Donald Trump is also currently suing the New York Times because of critical reporting. That's also a no-go for a president, yeah. But there's also an attack on the judiciary. Judges are being targeted. Judges have been arrested. Yes, those who didn't decide the way Trump wanted them to. So here, democracy is really being put to a severe, severe test. I still hope that the oldest, the strongest democracy, the United States of America, will get through this. But it can really make you anxious and worried. And as you already said, so Axel,
What we're about to see here is when a president talks like that, I get worried that he might undermine things, that he might stay president, or that someone might push themselves into that position. I think he's capable of anything right now. So how
right here, the way they're about to talk here.
I was texting with you earlier on WhatsApp. We communicated a bit, and I was sitting in my chair going back and forth with Axel, and I was just watching that. I wrote to Axel, that's 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 a catastrophe that he sees parts of his own population as the enemy. But let's take a look, Axel.
Cult. I say you have to understand that. This Make America Great Again movement, which has basically hijacked and taken over the empty shell of the Republican Party, is a cult. That is a religious fanatical cult. It's no longer about discussion, not about free speech, not even about American values. It's only about Trump, 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 the demigod, his satraps who willingly follow him, worshipping them as saints and putting themselves on a pedestal. We are right, others are wrong, and anything not fitting our vision of a great America must be destroyed or opposed. Well, that's
It's pretty
creepy.
Let's briefly talk about this world here. We see Carsten Hitler, whom we use very often. The Welt, I consume a lot from Die Welt, and it's worked out pretty well for me. But feel free to leave criticism in the comments, and tens of thousands.
Took part in the memorial service for the murdered Trump activist Charlie Kirk in a football stadium in the United States state of Arizona. Top United States leaders, including President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Rubio, were also present. The memorial service became a political rally. While the widow forgave her husband's murderer, Donald Trump provided the most emotional moment. The 79-year-old called Erica Kirk over to him and hugged her. That was also a clear sign that the Republican will use Charlie Kirk's death for his political goals, and that's also why Trump called him a martyr. More from Deborah Nebich, the approximately.
State Farm Stadium's 70,000 seats in Glendale are packed with people wanting to bid farewell to Charlie Kirk. The nearly 6-hour memorial service, a mix of church service and political rally, was emotional, especially the appearance of Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk. Through tears, she forgives the shooter who killed her husband. It is
Practice Christian love? No, I know. You know, it's not my place to talk about it. I mean, I'm not in her shoes. She lost her husband, she lost the father of her children. It's not our place to judge that. And saying that is already an attempt, at least, to build a bridge. So I do believe her. I do believe her when she appears so Christian there. Yes, she found God then. She was Miss Arizona, so she was very different back then. And then she found God through him or with him. Well, it's a shame that it was later misused, you know. Yeah.
My God, I have to say, well, I really do think she meant it honestly. I wouldn't be so cynical now to say that was just propaganda without knowing her or her movement. But of course, she is part of a political machine. She leads Turning Point, the organization her husband founded, which is now seeing a huge increase in membership, which has now received major publicity and political support, largely due to her husband's death. So she already knows what's being staged here. She also hears people talking, and maybe you should really step back and say, okay, this is a moment of mourning. I'm thinking about my husband right now. People
react differently. Some want to discuss it, others need time to grieve.
Is still being politically instrumentalized. It's still a political message. This message is connected to it. You can still
hold a memorial service with your family and children. You don't need 70,000 strangers in a stadium, but even
if you have 70,000 people and you say, my husband drew his vitality from being in contact with people, he wanted to share his message and enlighten others, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But this idea of loving your neighbor, which now speaks from forgiving the murderer, the perpetrator, is actually contradicted by the statements and the consequences that follow when they say, now it begins. Those who somehow say something against Charlie Kirk here, all of them, yes, whom we consider part of an imagined network. We took action against the journalists. We took action against politicians. We took action. We went after everything that wasn't gone by the count of 3. Dear Charlie Kirk writes, that's neither Christian nor shaped by love for your neighbor. And she notices that too. You have to give credit to the truth and say she does see that. And she's part of this machine. This man.
This young man, I forgive him. Kirk's legacy. His Christian nationalist organization, Turning Point United States of America, will now be continued by Erica Kirk. Her husband often discussed his sometimes controversial views at schools and universities. On issues like gun ownership or abortion, he was one of the most well-known faces of the American right and is now being portrayed as a martyr by the Trump camp. They all came: the United States President, Vice President, Chief of Staff, Secretary of State, and Secretary of Defense. There are no conciliatory words from Donald Trump. You may
not forget, this man is the most powerful man in the world. And what Donald Trump always forgets, I think, and all heads of state should take that to heart. Even if you've won an election, whether you come from a certain camp, right, left, green, I don't know, and then you represent the population, that's what you do during the campaign. You also represent non-voters. You are then the overall representative, the representative of this country and the people you are responsible for. And from my point of view, Donald Trump didn't do that at all. I don't know if people remember that as so, but Barack Obama didn't treat his own people as enemies or say, those who didn't vote for me or think differently are now my enemies. So what comes next is so terrible. Donald Trump.
Goes to Donald Trump. And even when he struck a conciliatory tone, the very next day his new statements made those words null and void. The man is simply an egomaniac, the kind you can hardly imagine. So Donald Trump's world revolves only around Donald Trump. And as you rightly say, the United States of America is a deeply polarized country, a country with deep, deep divisions. And it will be the duty of every representative, whether at the lowest level as a governor or especially as the president, to bridge these divides and unite the country again. He tries to eliminate anyone who refuses to follow him, his ways or his beliefs. And that's the path to civil war. That's the path to fascism. I have a bad feeling about what could happen in the United States of America during his next few years in office.
Just listen to it now. It was a
missionary with a noble spirit and a big, big goal.
He
didn't hate his opponents and wished them well. On this, I disagree with Charlie. I hate my opponents and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry, Erica. Then a moment with yes, I hate
my opponents. I hate that term. It's strong in the original. It's unfortunate the translation is so exaggerated. They should have focused on the original audio first and maybe translated it later. It just feels so smug, so Erica. I'm sorry, Erica. I'm sorry. I hate my opponents. I hate my adversaries. It
would have even been a chance now to carry on his doctrine by saying, so Charlie Kirk has his... He didn't hate his opponents, making him a role model for us all. This spirit was represented by him. That's how you could have sold it as standing... Would have said, at least I'll listen to it. Those are conciliatory words. Now, I'm not being hit over the head, but Trump hates my opponents. I'm sorry. Sorry, Erica, but I'm different. The text isn't just I hate my opponents, it's I want to destroy them. I'll let
it run. We don't know the cause of the audio problems. Symbolic power.
After his speech, Trump brings Erica Kirk onto the stage. She rests her head on the president's chest. It was impressive, and you could feel it. You could feel so much love and the desire for this country to simply get better and grow. She had so many reasons to be angry and to want to get back at him. But her heart knew in her Christian way that she should do what God wanted from her. And so she said, even though she was crying, I forgive him, she cried.
As she did it, she said,
I forgive.
him. And maybe
She has to. It will.
Many women, the Republicans traditionally more often chosen by men. Can we say that? I think. Excellently. I think that's a rather more male audience. Democrats are more female. At least that's how I remember it from the last presidential election. But of course, that will also bring many women back into the Make America Great Again movement. It might even be a very clever move. It's mean to assume that here, because someone just died, someone was murdered here, she's
an all-American Christian, mother of two, now widowed. Naturally, that's ideal for politicizing, even if that's not her intent. You don't have to be cynical now and say, oh, look at that. She's exploiting it, but Trump and his movement are too, doing so deliberately and knowingly. This message...
Donald Trump still gets through to him. After a public dispute and fallout, he shakes hands with tech billionaire Elon Musk. Later, the White House's Instagram posts a black and white photo of Trump and Musk together. Caption for Charlie, caption,
They really fooled us, Trump and Elon Musk. They really fooled us with that argument they supposedly had on X. I pull out the app styling files and similar items. They're extremely good at distracting from everything. Excel, but
I do think that
since EUs collide, but that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is.
I think rather that's...
Exactly.
But both realize they need one another. But as it is with egomaniacs, with people whose ego is above everything, they really clashed a lot. And there were some heated phone calls to smooth things over, so I followed that very closely. That was really a very visible breaking point of this Make America Great Again movement, where a lot of substantive issues were also touched upon. Yes, for example, when it comes to migration policy, where Elon Musk, who is an immigrant himself, takes a very liberal stance. And that's where this very racist, very ethno-nationalist American attitude actually comes into play. So there was already a lot of creaking in the framework. And for a while, that was actually dangerous for these structures. Well,
Rodolfo seems bothered by something outside. My camera zoom is gone. Something's wrong with the stream right now. Now. He's got me again. Now he's got me again. So Rodolfo, and...
To our United States correspondent Michael Willenweber in Washington, District of Columbia. Morning, Michael. So Erica Kirk forgave her husband's murderer, Charlie. Donald Trump openly disagrees and stated, quote, "I hate my opponents." What is the message behind that? So, none.
It's not a good message. You have to state it that way. Donald Trump missed an opportunity to perhaps give a speech that would bring the country back together. No, he tried to polarize. He responded very specifically with a yes. Erica's statement that you should respond to hate with love and that you should also love those who persecute you. That's a very clear hint. That's how Donald Trump must have felt. And that's also why this harshness, also in his tone, such massive harshness when he said that he didn't agree with it, but that he simply wouldn't like his political opponents. And from that, you can conclude that not liking them
is not correct. That's a different word. We disagree, we dislike. No, I hate them. So that's not entirely correct. That's not true. Do what?
He actually announced, namely, he is putting pressure, for example, on the Justice Department to take action against his opponents. And he also said during the campaign, if you can't find anything to take action against him, then invent something. So Donald Trump stays true to himself and missed an opportunity yesterday. Yes, Michael, and...
That's the issue. Critics now accuse Trump of trying to greatly restrict freedom of speech and the press in the United States. What kind of political climate is there in the United States? How do you experience it? I would also
say not wanting to, but already doing it. Jimmy Kimmel.
Is there
the best example that it's not just a wish or barroom talk, but already a reality? Well, I experience
it actually that a division is getting stronger rather than anything coming together. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, also talks about fascism, about what's happening now in the White House. And we keep hearing this accusation more and more. Even on the left, people are hitting hard. That must be made clear. There's nothing coming together there. The death of Charlie Kirk, the murder or the cowardly murder of Charlie Kirk, is becoming a catalyst, or at least threatens to become a catalyst, that the division of this country between right and left is growing, and that these blocs are facing each other more irreconcilably. Unfortunately, one must
actually say, there were many voices that I greatly appreciated, including Barack Obama, who directly condemned the attack and expressed condolences to Widmay despite all political differences. But there were also an incredible number of people who celebrated the death. We also experienced it here in the comment sections after our stream. Well, it's like if Hitler had been killed. Absolute dehumanization of the political opponent takes place. Murder is legitimized or at least excused, and both sides are not much different in that regard. And it's frightening that there are no laws anymore. Listen, folks, a person has died here. That cannot be justified. Of course, you can be against what he stood for, but under no circumstances does that justify this assassination. And in general, anyone with even a shred of decency should know better than to celebrate this or make jokes about it. Awesome. Well, that's really a kind of brutalization that you can actually imagine on both sides. Thank you for this.
Context from Washington, District of Columbia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feeling optimistic because I think it's about to get worse. It has to.
Before it gets better. But I also hope that after Trump's second term, things will normalize again, that this development is just cyclical. First it swung to one extreme, then to the other extreme, and then the pendulum swings back to a healthy middle. Because I have hope there as well. Despite all the radicalization, despite all the shrill tones, despite the heated and charged atmosphere, people basically want to lead reasonable lives. What simply wouldn't exist with such demagogues? It's also telling that Charlie's widow has already given him a bit of a talking to, forgive me for saying so. We must also love our opponents. We must forgive. I really believe that
Was so scripted in the United States of America, Axel, that was no surprise. It was a mix of, we practice Christian forgiveness, but we also tell our political opponents that's how it is. Donald Trump is never caught off guard. That was scripted down to the last detail. That was scripted. That was scripted. No, Donald Trump doesn't just show up and let Erica surprise him. No, 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 no. That was all scripted. That's how it was. So that's my input on it.
maybe I'm naive, but I think it means actually preferable to me. That there isn't some plan behind it, like good cop, bad cop, but that maybe, yes, a different attitude is being expressed. One that says, what you're doing is too much now. That's certainly what I wish for the United States of America and its people. Yes, it will.
Almost fit into the format within 30 minutes. Yes, the United States of America is on the path to fascism. Unfortunately, that's how it is. That's not an exaggeration. It's visible. Restrictions on the media, slandering political opponents, or even publicly portraying them as enemies. Attacks on the
Independent judiciary, a very important point. A personality cult are all clear.
Characteristics of emerging fascism. You have to pay attention to that, and you also have to want to do something about it. Yeah, we hope that it doesn't get as bad as Donald Trump might even have in mind. Axel, thank you so much for your time, and thanks to everyone who supports this. Thank you, of course. Axel's book, I Was the Hitler of Cologne, is out, and so is mine, but that's not important right now. And otherwise, with the Beef Bandits and Philip, 10% off at ZEG+. Thanks for the support. Check under the video, like, dislike, and comment. And of course, I thank you, Axel, for your time. And yes, as always, that's where we leave it. Or rather, I came up from the coast with an ahoy, ahoy. Ahoy, ahoy.